Mr. Adamu Abdullahi is a Director, Consumer Protection of the NCAA. Is it Consumer Protection Council or just Consumer Protection?
Consumer Protection Directorate
Director
of the NCAA.
Of the NCAA. Yeah. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much.
So it is your desk, your department that all these complaints will go through.
Yes.
I imagine someone will be fuming right now saying, what have you guys been? We've been suffering all the while. You left us at the mercy of these airlines. What's going on?
You are correct. The way the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, Civil Aviation Act of 2006 is coined, you have to carry stakeholders along as you come up with regulations. So therefore, we had no choice. Yes, we became a directorate back in 2009. We were just a unit earlier than that, we were a department. And we had to now take stakeholders along as we come up with these regulations and have their buy-in. So we held stakeholder fora, and the regulations really came into effect from September 2012. That's NCAR's Volume 2, 2012, Part 19, that deals directly with consumer-related issues.
Okay.
So, well, now that, the implementation, or rather, has started all the way, you said since August, September?
September 2012, that's right. Yes.
Well, that's almost a year now.
Yeah.
Wow. So what are the kinds of complaints do you normally get in your office?
Somewhere in the region of 50,000 per annum. Delayed flights, cancelled flights, lost baggage, pilfered baggage. Things to do also with the service providers, dirty toilets, no air conditioning, no lights.
Dirty toilets.
In the aircraft?
In the aircraft, in the airport itself.
Well, if you say no air conditioning, at what point? Because
at the departure halls, so to speak, as passengers await to board their flights, the air conditioning is not working, they complain to us.
Oh, really?
And we take up the service provider that's fine in this situation on such issues.
Okay. Because I do remember that that happened some time ago, and we were wondering. I thought this was a newly built one, and at that time we saw some artisans. Maybe they were still working on it at the time. But
yeah, that's why you saw all those notices that says you have to bear with fun as the remodeling exercise was being carried out. It's for your own good in the future and things like that. So yes, there may be such issues, but then there are system failures sometimes, and you really get the places to be warm, especially when 2 or 3 flights arrive at the same time. It's not conducive for one to sit down there.
Like, for instance, let's touch on baggage, loss of baggages, the baggage now. For the airline or the air passenger who has come to NCAA, and at the end of the day, nothing is being done concerning the missing baggage. What do you do as the regulatory body?
With baggage, really, it is a convention, the Montreal Convention of 1999. This convention was domesticated.
Montreal,
yes.
Okay.
It was domesticated in the 2006 Civil Aviation Act. So this deals with injury to passengers, death, as well as baggage, cases of lost baggage, and what the liability of the airline is in such a circumstance. We domesticated that, and the maximum an airline can pay you for a lost bag is $1,000. Yeah, in the international route, it is more of special drawing rights, they call it. Special drawing rights is goes about just over $1 per special drawing right. As of today, it is 1,131 per piece of luggage that you lose on an aircraft. So it is a long process, really. What you do is you find out your bag is missing. There's an irregularity form that you have to fill at the point of leaving, before you leave the airport, at the counter of the airline. And if all efforts are made to trace the bag and it is not found, then you now start negotiating with the airline. They'll first of all ask you what and what are in your bag, come up with receipts and things like that. But you can't hold them liable if you don't declare valuables, things that are of immense value at the point of checking in the bag. If you have $100,000 wristwatches, for instance, Rolex wristwatches in your bag, the airline should know. If they don't, and then it's only at the time of that claim that you are now saying that this is what your bag contains. Of course, people do that. Then the airline is not really liable.
Because, well, again, that means the air passenger should be aware about the existence of that particular law and what he or she should do at the point of checking that bag in.
As a regulation now, all airlines must display at the point of buying your ticket, at the point of checking in, that if you are denied boarding, if your flight is cancelled or delayed for over an hour, you should demand from that airline a statement of your rights, particularly as it pertains to your compensation and other forms of assistance. So therefore, these are issues that whenever you buy a ticket, those fine lines that people don't care to read about, those are the conditions of carriage. They're good to explain to you the weight of baggage you can carry, for instance, your allowable weight, issues pertaining to what should be in your bag, and the banned items. You don't carry guns, for instance, you don't carry explosives, things like that. And then also the issue of your compensation in case that bag is lost is also mentioned on that ticket. It's part of the condition. Even if you buy your ticket online, the conditions are laid out there, the conditions of carriage. People just don't read them. So this is all the publicity that we are going about now. I would say the last speaker thought that it would only start on Friday. No. Publicity on the Passenger Bill of Rights started as from last Monday.
So as we speak, do you have them at the airports?
Oh, yes. What is right now happening is from Monday of last week, all consumer protection officers that are in all the airports in Nigeria have been wearing T-shirts and pickups and have been distributing leaflets to all passengers they see in the airports. 1 million SMS have gone out, bulk SMS, to mobile phone users in the country. We have inserted loose leaflets inside newspapers, 5 newspapers throughout last week. We had a newspaper each that carried these leaflets, and they are all talking on the Consumer Bill of Rights, telling you what your rights are when you are carried by any airline in Nigeria.
No TVC yet?
Yes, I was on TVC.
TV commercials.
TV commercials are coming up. We will have jingles, of course. We are just developing them at the moment. We have a whole coordinating general manager now on aviation parastatals, and he has been working on that assiduously. And very soon you will see the documentaries will come, of course. TV jingles, radio jingles, all of them will come. The social media also. We are developing animated concepts that we are going to use, all in a bid to make people aware of their rights.
Yeah, because I imagine that this is going to be a massive one.
It is.
Because, I mean, almost the complaints on a regular basis.
Going by the words of the minister, massive and sophisticated campaign is what she wants, and that's what's going on.
Okay. Because let's see if we can take a question or two from those who are watching out there. Well, all right, I know you talked about this on passengers' right to law. Is there anywhere the issue of missed flight? Okay, yes, you talked about the rescheduling, such as tickets. Does he also talk about, in terms of rescheduling, how will it be handled and how should they communicate to you your flight has been rescheduled?
When you go to buy your ticket, if it's online or even at the point of buying at the desk, they collect your phone number. The essence of that phone number, as well as your email address, is if there is any reschedulement on your flight, they should let you know. And even that now has a time limit. You should know within 24 hours if it's a domestic flight, within 7 days if it is an international flight. Otherwise, the airline is liable. And they pay some form of compensation. 25% cost of your ticket in case of domestic flights, 30% on international flights.
So for some asking, Joseph is saying, well, if an airline hasn't actually responded, not for 3 weeks, but 3 years, well, to your legitimate refund, well, despite several mails and calls and even personal visitation, how can NCAA help out?
That's why we're there. The Consumer Protection as a directorate now has presence in all the airports in the Federation.
All the airports?
All the airports. What has really drawn us back is the fact that this remodeling exercise that was ongoing, we lost some of our cubicles as well as our stands. But we're in the process of replacing those right now, and they are going to be branded cubicles in NCAA colors. We are thinking also in terms of getting uniforms for our staff. If not uniforms, at least an overall that identifies the Consumer Protection Officer on his back as a consumer protection officer with his name in the front with an NCAA logo, so that by the time you meet him in the airport, you know who you are talking to, and you know who to look for whenever you have any such problem. But then we also expect these regulations to be carried out to the letter by the airlines. The regulations say that airlines must establish customer service desks at all airports they operate into. They must also have trained personnel to attend to customers in case of any complaints. Most of the time, this 50,000 or so complaints that I've been talking about could be resolved between the passenger and the airline, in that most times the passenger comes to complain because nobody has told him the condition of his flight. My flight is 11 o'clock in the morning. I've been here till 12. Nobody has said anything about the flight. So if the airline has a counter, that could address it. And if the airline is alive to its responsibility, as in due to weather at destination or route weather, or we discussed it, VIP movement, this flight is going to be delayed by 1 hour. You are carried along, you know. And
because most times
if it has a technical problem, you know that there is no mechanical workshop up there. But so therefore, you would allow the aircraft to undergo the repairs before you go.
Well, tell us what your agency has been doing with regards to VIP movement, because the frequency is crazy.
VIP movement is an occurrence the world over. The only reason why you don't hear about it is because they don't address it as such. It's a security issue. You shouldn't be telling people who your president is.
You know.
So therefore, even in the United States, you don't fly in the same airwaves with Obama, for instance.
But we know
then nobody tells you.
We know the same United States.
And they have different airports.
Different airports, yes. But the frequency. That's why I use the word the frequency, because there are times I think I've been privileged to actually move within a week more than 10 times, and you don't get to hear that story. But the frequency, and for the last man here, he says, well, it's as if everyone is a VIP in Nigeria. At least the president doesn't just go around the states every day,
no.
But you get to hear VIP movement on a daily basis.
VIP movement is not really just you also accord it to presidents of other countries that come into Nigeria. So that's why the frequency in Abuja, I would say, yes, is awesome. Look at last week, for instance, the meeting that held. You know that many presidents came from, heads of government came from other parts of West Africa for the meeting. And therefore, for every head of state that comes in, there will be 15 minutes before arrival, 15 minutes after arrival, 15 minutes before departure, 15 minutes after departure. So therefore, such things happen. The solution is for us to have a second airport in Abuja. If we can have an Air Force base in Abuja, all the presidential aircraft, as you have noticed, are now Nigerian Air Force. So they should be using Air Force airports for those purposes, so that civil aviation remains civil aviation.